Good morning. Good morning. As you can see, I'm still here. If you were here at the fun show last night, I made a bit of a joke at my wife's expense, but I lived through it. But I got to go home sometime, so. Note from a wife to her husband, Dear Herbie, I know it was our joint decision for you to go off to the Army for the year, but it's so hard not having you here. We are married. Doesn't it make sense that we should be together? I'm so miserable without you. It's almost like you're still here. Love, Ann. Where's the love? Who are we and how should we act as Christians? Here's a scenario I'm going to give you. Bob shows up for work, half hour late, goes straight to the coffee pot, gets some coffee, and the pot is empty. He blows up. He slams the pot down, yelling, "Can't anyone else besides me make a pot of coffee around here?" And he's cussing and carrying on. You're standing there. We're standing there. And take Bob's rant and the accusations personally and say, well, if you would get to work on time, maybe you'd have a pot of coffee when you got here, a cup of coffee. And under your breath as you turn and walk away, say, jerk. Now, was Bob mad at you about not having coffee? As far as you know, he was. Here's what you didn't see. Bob leaves for work late after arguing with his wife. He backs out of the driveway, backs over his garbage cans, and knocks them over and has to get out and pick the mess up. After about getting 10 miles down the road, he realizes he doesn't have his work phone, has to turn around, go back home and get it. Now, on the way back out, he catches a train over tracks he had already passed twice, going and coming back to get his phone. He gets stuck behind a truck driving 10 miles under the speed limit going down a little 2-lane road. He can't get around them. Anybody have a morning like this? All right. Next, someone pulls dead out in front of him right before he gets to work. He slams on the brake, unloads all of his documents, his briefcase onto the floor, spills his coffee on his new white shirt. Bob pulls into the parking lot, scoops up his mess on the floor, stuffs it back into his briefcase, gets off what coffee he can, slides into work a half hour late, and goes straight to the coffee pot, and the coffee pot is empty. There's two sides to this scenario, this scene. There is Bob, of course. He did not handle all his troubles well. He let it build up and get the best of him in front of his coworkers. There's us standing there who took the brunt of the release of his anger. And we just think Bob is a jerk. Are either one of these positions, reactions, acceptable to us as Christians? Should we be the guy who lets it get to us and comes into work and blows up at our friends or whatever the scenario that's similar to that? Or should we be the one standing there by the coffee pot that just think Bob's a jerk and don't give him any support at all? I don't think any of those positions are in our best interest in how we should act towards each other. Romans 12, starting in verse 14. Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice, and weep with those who weep. Be of the same mind towards one another. That's us. Do not set your mind on high things, but associate with the humble. Do not be wise in your own opinion. Repay no one evil for evil. That's no one evil for evil. Have regard for good things in the sight of all men. If it is possible, we're down in 18 now. If it is possible, as much as depends on you, live peaceably with all men. Beloved, do not avenge yourselves, no vengeance, but rather give place to wrath, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. Therefore, if your enemy is hungry, feed him. If he is thirsty, give him a drink. For in so doing, you will heap coals of fire on his head. Sometimes our enemies are not really our enemies. Bob, who came in late, wasn't really our enemy. He was a coworker. He just needed to be heard, he needed to have someone do something for him or help him out that morning. 21, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. So how should we have reacted to Bob? Hey, Bob, you know what? You're right. We didn't make a pot of coffee. Why don't you go sit down, get cleaned up, and I will make a pot and bring you over a cup. How many people in this room could do that after Bob just blew up cussing at him? Could you do it? Have you done it? It might be difficult. Do not overcome evil by evil, but overcome evil with good. That's what we're told to do. Sometimes it's hard to do these things, but eventually it should become our natural reaction to overcome evil with good, not call Bob a jerk. That one small effort might have turned Bob's entire miserable day, that's probably an hour and a half, 2 hours into it, might have turned his whole day around and made the rest of it tolerable. Someone who he expected just to treat him like everybody else could have sat him down, gave him a cup of coffee, helped him out. That is an opportunity as Christians to show the world who we really are and who we claim to be. I'll give you an example. I heard, in the past I've mentioned how I liked Jerry Clower. I kind of admired his comedy and that. He would get up and tell stories, but sometimes would tell stories, not funny stories, just truth, because he was always a big proponent of us loving each other, and he said that quite often. He tells this great story about his, what was he? His agent. His agent and him met at a restaurant. And they sat down for dinner to eat, and this new waitress, young waitress, comes over. She's like her first week on the job, and she's waiting on them, getting their meal, and you can tell she's nervous. And then she comes over to serve the agent some soup. Agent is a rich man. He's a well-to-do man. He has a nice suit, and he's sitting there, and she spills the soup on him. Straight up. Toasted his suit, everything. He grabs her hand. She's crying, carrying on, worried she's going to lose her job. This man, who probably wasn't Christian in the sense that we would say it, just a regular, nominal Christian, grabs her hand and says, "Hon, I am so sorry this happened to you." How many of us would have that first reaction? I don't know. Let me see you get my place here. So, who are we? We're going to change gears a little bit. Who are we? The world has been asking that question for thousands of years. Famous people, rich people, artists, poets, songwriters, they want to know who we are and where did we come from. Scientists spend billions of years. They build giant telescopes, particle accelerators. They got the Hubble out there. Got to fix it every now and then, but they got that out there taking these wonderful pictures of the universe. And they want to know two simple things. Who are we and where did we come from? We know the answer to these questions. We're sitting here and we could tell them that. They wouldn't understand a word we said, but we could tell them that. It's simple for us. It's no brilliance of our own. We have been freely given the answer. We have been called by our Father to know these answers. One, God is reproducing after himself, and we are called to be members of his family. That's who we are. The word God itself is plural, represents a family name. But this simple truth confounds the world. They do not and cannot understand it. Romans 8:15, for you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear, but you received the spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. Further down, next verse, 16. The Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God. Not pets, not, floating around on clouds. And if children, then heirs, heirs of God and joint heirs with Christ. If needed, we suffer with him, that we may also be glorified together. Now, a few years ago, during atonement, I don't know about you, but I don't do a whole lot of moving around on atonement. I get a nap in and maybe follow that up with another nap if possible. But I don't do a whole lot. So we're in between naps probably. And at my door on the Day of Atonement, I hear. So I go answer the door. Guess who's there? Jehovah's Witness. On the Day of Atonement. So they start, and I said, do you know what day it is? It's Saturday. Well, I mean, do you know what day it is? And I started going on, it's the Day of Atonement. And when they started talking, they thought they had someone on a hook. And then, we got someone who knows something. And even though they didn't know what I was talking about. So eventually I'm grabbing their Bible and I'm going through John, the Word, the Logos, the Word, and nothing was made by him that wasn't made. And they have no idea what I'm talking about. Simple things, they cannot understand them. It's not their fault. They just don't know. And in fact, his wife was getting a little perturbed when she was starting to realize what I was trying to say. She shut down right away, and they didn't. He was nice. He was a real nice guy, but she wasn't having none of what I was trying to show him. But so they left. So I don't think we haven't gotten any more visits, have we, since then? No, I didn't think so. We were on the blacklist, I'm sure. They checked us off. So we came from the creator of the infinite universe, a creator that can be seen in the creation. Romans, first chapter of Romans, verse 20. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead. We can see by what he has created that he exists. We're on who we are and how we got here. All the animals that live in harsh environments, that had they evolved could never have made it. Symbiosis, where two creatures would have had to evolve at the exact same instant, or neither could have ever existed. Science has no answer for these. They go out of science when you get to these things. They stop science. They just start making it up as they go. Well, this had to happen and that had to happen. Maybe this happened. They don't have good, hard facts for these answers when they get stumped. Psalms 14. In Psalms 14:1, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none who does good. The Lord looks down from heaven upon the children of men to see if there are any who understand, who seek God. They have all turned aside. They have together become corrupt. There is none who does good, no, not one. Those are the answers the rest of the world, including the nominal Christian world, has not been given. They don't understand it. They haven't been given it. It's not their fault. They do not know who we are, where we came from. We do. And why we're here. They think, like I said earlier, pets, Cadillacs, floating on clouds. At least that's in the jokes. I don't know why Cadillacs. I'm kind of partial to Lincolns myself. But okay, remember, we did not come to this conclusion of who we are and where we came from by any great wisdom of our own account. We were freely given this. And just in case you think our brilliance was brought this great knowledge to you, in 1 Corinthians, verse 1, or in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 26, for you see your calling, brethren, that not many wise according to the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. But God has chosen the foolish things of the world to be put to shame, the wise. And God has put to shame the wise. God has chosen the weak things of this world to put to shame the things which are mighty, and the base things of the world, and the base things of the world, and the things which are despised God has chosen, and the things which are not, to bring to nothing the things that are, that no flesh should glory in his presence. We know who we are. We know who we are as a people. We are the children of the loving, living God. We need to remember that when we are dealing with the people of this world. We are to be lights for others. We are to be gathered together as we are at the feast. We need to be kind not only to each other, but those outside this room. Show them we represent a loving God. If your room arrangement isn't right, work it out. Be nice. If your meal is going badly, be nice. Act a Christian. We all need to remember that. It is very easy to get outside of that. It's very easy to snap when the flesh kind of calls your name and doesn't let your spirit take over and give the correct response to whatever situation you're in. I've seen, and I'm sure I've been one of them, seen Christians chewing someone out at the lobby at the desk and chewing someone out at the restaurant or getting impatient in traffic. I do that every now and then. But we've got to remember who we are and who we represent when we're out there. We are God's children here at the feast. In Matthew 22, verse 34. But when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, they gathered together. Then one of them, a lawyer, asked him a question, testing him and saying, "Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law?" Jesus said to him, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment, and the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself." Next to loving the person, the entity who put us, our loving God who put us here on this earth and created everything we see, the next greatest thing we can do is love our neighbors as we love ourselves. In Ephesians 6:12, for we wrestle not against flesh. We need to know who's really behind everything we wrestle against. Not that person standing there, not the one behind the desk, not the one at the restaurant, not the one behind the counter of the store that the sale tag is wrong. That's always wrong. Walmart, they can't get it right. I don't know why. We're not wrestling against these people. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers and darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And that is more and more evident every day. That's what we wrestle against. So, if you've known me any length of time or hear me, I say, "Where's the love?" a lot. I say it a lot when I'm around Kelly. I don't know, he just brings that out in me. But where's the love? It's here. It's here at the feast.